to the KDFL Dynasty Football Podcast. It's me, Brett Steele, and I'm joined this week, not by Detroit. He's out sick. Too much partying for the Elkview River Rats, but joined still by Mr. Matt Smith, General Manager for the Knockatee Zen Masters. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing fabulous. Excellent. Happy as could be. Good NFL week one. Talk about that later. Fantasy team, not so great, but, everything's great. Ready to talk.
You look very, very teal today, sir.
Oh, yeah. This is in honor. I don't normally wear teal. This is in honor of the Sunday teal out in Jacksonville to fight all these stupid red Kansas City Chiefs fans that are going to occupy the stadium. It's going to be a fun time as you are joining me there.
That's right. That's right.
Hopefully
These
we
two
don't
hosts
get arrested.
Yes. These two hosts will be in Duval cheering on the Jags in the tail out. But first, we have to recap week one. A lot of interesting news, a lot of ugly football. But let's start off with our KDFL week one results.
All right, we starting off the week one recap. We go to Marmet, where the Dogtown Dobermans travel to the Midnight Riders field. Dobermans start out strong, led by Duval's own, some would say future defensive player of the year, the real Josh Allen, recording 3 sacks and scoring 28 points. It's a good thing the real Josh Allen showed up because the fake Josh Allen looks pathetic against the Jets. Doberman's strong QB duo of Burrow and Josh Allen did absolutely nothing for them this week. Midnight Riders were flying high going into this matchup with projections and several teams to picking them all to win this year. I'm pretty sure I've ranked them number one. They started out great with the dominant performance of Tyreek Hill, 45 points. However, this matchup came down to the Monday Night Football matchup. Midnight Riders had to be feeling confident after that iconic American flag running Aaron Rodgers intro on 9/11, but they get a crushing blow. 4 plays into the game with Aaron Rodgers' injury, Doberman still the victory, winning 214 to 204. All right, I am still up, taking place of Detroit. The Kings at Renegades is next. We go to the Kings traveling to one of their inner city rivals, the Roxalana Renegades. Kings offense was led by freshly acquired Travis Etienne, scoring 21 points. Renegades offense led by their captain, Tuanon Nation, looking great week one, scoring 29 points and shutting up the critics for now. But this matchup really came down to each team's defense and special teams. The Kings D and special teams came up with 99 points total, while the Renegades ended with a strong 134 points. That was the deciding factor. Renegades take this one, easily winning 248 to 216.
All right, now we head down here to Melbourne, where my Mega Powers opened up the season hosting the Wake Forest Lumberjacks, and this was a defensive battle early. Zaire Franklin leads all scorers and all linebackers as he scores 33 for the Mega Powers. DeForest Buckner scores 28 for the Lumberjacks, including a Mega Power Tank Bigsby fall asleep fumble return for a touchdown. But Duval comes to the rescue of the Mega Powers as finally, after over a year and a half, Calvin Ridley returns and looks like his old dominant self, 24 points himself. But the Mega Powers had to withstand rookie blast after rookie blast as the much celebrated great draft of the Lumberjacks pays off in week one. We have Bijan for 20, Zay Flowers for 19, Puka Nacua with 22 of his own. And it comes down to Monday Night Football and a Greg Rousseau stuff to put the Mega Powers just ahead of the Lumberjacks. We have our first stat correction watch of 2022 as the Mega Powers win 227 to 225. Next, we go to the runner-up of 2022, the Sinners hosting the Wampus Cats. And this one starts out, the Sinners were red hot on the defensive side of the ball with Bobby Wagner and TJ Watt combining for 63 points, gets the Sinners out to a big lead early. As we've talked about in the past, the Wampus Cats are a one-man band at QB, and that QB did lead all scorers as Herbert pours in 22. but it's just not going to be enough. The Sooners were in absolute dominant fashion this week. Aaron Jones caps off the high scores with 27 as the Sooners set a new franchise scoring record, winning 310 to 213.
All right. Next, River Rats travel to the Zen Masters Majestic Nocatee Stadium in a battle of 10th and 11th ranked powerhouses.
Yes.
Opening night of the season did not start out too peaceful for the Zen Masters, as hyped up Sky Moore scored a whopping 0.4 points. River Rats' much stronger offensive weapons did not look too strong either, though, with the exception of the next great Packers QB, Jordan Love, bringing in 26 points and, as usual, crushing the Bears. Zen Masters had overall ugly performances all around, led by Lamar Jackson's 5 points. The River Rats destroy the Zen Masters 229 to 173. But one thing, Zen Masters can only go up from here. We are at peace.
Peace is the key. Peace is the key. Now, we end our week one with the ring ceremony game, the game of the week. It's the Evil Empire hosting the Cross Vegas Gamblers, and legend of the podcast, Andre Eckler, leads the way with his newly acquired team, the Evil Empire. Old Austin pours in 26 points, and it's Cross Vegas Gambler wide receiver Brandon Ayuk leading the way for them with 33, and much cherished trade target McCorkle Jones pours in 26 for the Gamblers, while Patrick Mahomes can only manage a measly 21 for the Evil Empire. And much like the Lions on Thursday, the Evil Empire play spoiler because no Cup, no Kelsey equals no depth equals no win for the Evil Empire. And the Gamblers win on an upset, 230 to 215. And that is it for your week one results. Woo! Now, real quick, as we break down the picks from the podcasters, all three of us went 3-3 in our various different ways. As far as the NFL picks, Detroit went a good 0-2, so he's already in mid-season form. He missed on Minnesota and the Giants over Dallas. He just barely missed the Giants upsetting Dallas, so that was right down to the wire. Mr. Matt Smith hit on both of his, so he leads the way with 3 points as he hit Philadelphia -4 and Detroit over Kansas City. And old Brett here got, again, midseason form. I'm terrible at locks. I'm decent at upsets. I hit the upset with Vegas over Denver. Missed also in remarkable fashion Pittsburgh +2.5 against the 49ers. And the Vikings betrayed the week one stealing money parlay as it failed as the Vikings lost to the Bucks. So that's it on our week one rundown. Matt, it was a wild week one, a very ugly week one. What are your initial thoughts, and then we'll go through round robin on the games here from a fantasy standpoint.
It was just, well, first off, I'd like to apologize to the Gamblers. I'm pretty sure I said some hateful things to them last week, saying that they were the worst team in the league and I thought their draft was terrible. What does he do? He shuts me up and beats the Evil Empire team. I mean, the projections held true. I asked how he was projected 230. I think he got right around 230 points. So apologies to the Gamblers.
He was the closest one to the projection. He was within 1.5 of his projections, I believe. I think I was second, like 3, but he was within 1.5. The Gamblers were so close to their projected total.
Pretty good. But yeah, overall, ugly, super ugly week one. Sloppy performances all around. I think it's very tough to judge the teams based off of this week. Terrible performance from the league. Be like going to a movie or not going to a movie, watching a sitcom, and the pilot episode is just pure trash. You don't want to watch the rest of it. The NFL needs to figure this out. Week one, I feel like this is not the first year that it's been like this, but week one just has a sour taste. It's not good quality football that we're used to seeing from the NFL. Hopefully they turn it around, but for fantasy purposes, Zen Masters get 173 points. Again, my team's young, but I'm not too concerned because of the week one. I think Lamar even said he's rusty as hell out there. So it seems like everybody is. That's it.
I got you. Yeah, and overall NFL, I think it was something like, I And I don't know if this was a certain time slot or if this was the whole week. This feels like it has to be the whole week with the numbers I'm about to throw out. But 59 touchdowns this year in week one, versus last year, I think it was 73, 74, something in that, something in that area. So it was definitely the 1 o'clock games were, if you weren't hyped for your team playing at one, it was almost unwatchable. But the hype carries you through, obviously. But it was pretty tough football. But it does come with I'd rather have a tough week one, as hyped as we are to get it going, than have another preseason game and the risk of injury. This is kind of how I think. But
Yeah.
some of these week one games are huge. They're a big deal.
I mean, I'm just thinking like you wait January till September, so 9 months or whatever of no football if your team's not in the playoffs. We watched the game with dear Patrick, a beloved Steelers
Yes.
fan, and
Oh,
imagine going
shout out
9 months,
Patrick.
pumped up for the season. Kenny Pickett's going to have a great year, and they just get destroyed by the 49ers.
It was
Like,
rough.
how are you feeling for the rest of the
It,
year after seeing that? But
it was rough seeing us, but it's not that rough because it's a Steelers fan and they've had enough to celebrate.
yeah,
So
that's true.
maybe you can just be a little upset for a little bit. But it was rough. It was a lot of yelling. Why are we constantly slipping? It was a lot of yelling. All right, so let's
Yeah,
go
it
through
was
the
a lot.
games. Because of Sunday and how hyped everything was, and we put on a big production for Sunday when we get the games together for week one. It feels like, because of that, it feels like the Lions and Chiefs were already 3 weeks ago. Of course, we got week two starting tonight with the Vikings and Eagles, but I got a little tidbit from a super fan, not super fan Keith, but another super fan that emailed into the show. It's been a while since we've dusted off the old email box, but we have Charles from Dunbar. I believe, based on his text, that he is a diehard Renegades fan. So I don't know. There's multiple teams that are located near and around the Dunbar location, but I believe this is a Renegades fan. I'm gonna read some blurbs from this. So evidently there was a bizarre take by Mike Tirico and possibly Mike McGee of the Off the Cuff sister podcast on the KDFL network here that we have, that the Lions victory and Jared Goff's comeback versus Patrick Mahomes should have an asterisk, because how could the little old Lions beat the Super Bowl champs in Arrowhead? So
yeah,
he wants to know our takes on this. Like, do the Jets get asterisks now with Aaron Rodgers being out? Would this happen in fantasy, where if your team's out, do you get an asterisk? For instance, the Evil Empire, we already talked about their missing weapons that they had, including Mr. Kelsey and Mr. Cup. So what's your opinion on this? I thought it was a wild thing for Tirico to say in that moment, right then.
I think it's one of the dumbest things ever. It's ridiculous. So many teams have injuries every single week. The love. I mean, I'm a converted ex out of a terrible toxic relationship with the Raiders. Poor Roach still on that side. So I hate the Chiefs with a passion, and I have for 30 years or so. Stupid Arrowhead fans, that needs canceled too. How are they allowed to do that?
I'm saying.
But it's just, yeah, this the commentary for the Chiefs. My God, just crown them now. Chris Collinsworth, he gets worse and worse every year with the Patrick Mahomes love, and then Mike Tirico saying it's an asterisk. I mean, what if the Lions have people out? They got who the rookie from last year. He's
Jameson Williams
for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Jameson Williams. I mean, they have other people. Every team has people out, and to say it's an asterisk because of a freaking tight end and their stupid player on the damn he's in the press box at the game. That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yes, like, I want to hit on that.
What are you doing?
Because we're going to talk about this later with one of the 4 o'clock matchups, but some of this, Kelsey, I mean, some of this is of your own doing. You're the reason you're in this situation. Kelsey's an older tight end, so injuries become more likely. I'm not saying he got injured because he's old, but it just, that's a known fact. Injuries are more likely when you're older. Chris Jones is not playing because the Chiefs are famous for playing hardball with their players when it comes to contracts. Patrick Mahomes is obviously very underpaid for his value to the league. Chris Jones, or they let Tyreek Hill walk when he wanted more money and was unhappy, so he's in Miami. So Chris Jones is only up there because you weren't paying him what he thought he was worth, and he ends up signing a deal that not much more than what he was getting. But
Yeah.
you're a victim of your own circumstance. You made this happen. It's the reason why you have this asterisk with these two big players not playing. So I don't know. Go ahead.
More to the Chiefs, though, they looked absolutely awful without Travis Kelsey. I mean, is Mahomes really that bad without him? He's had him for his whole career, so we don't know how much. I don't think Kelsey's missed significant time with Mahomes there.
No.
Uh, but I do think I think I heard something earlier. Like I think that does actually affect Kadarius Toney had one of the worst games ever with the
Yeah.
drops. But I do think that affects guys like Scott Moore with his beautiful 0.4 points.
Man.
Travis Kelsey has so much tension on him. It's going to open the offense to Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice. Those guys will get more plays this year as Kelsey is out there. But without Kelsey, Mahomes is an average bum. So screw that guy.
Average
Hopefully,
is too far.
Hopefully Mahomes, hopefully Kelsey is out again this week, but we shall see. It seems like he's going to play. But it'd be even better of a victory if the Chiefs start 0-2 and Kelsey is out there on the field in Jacksonville.
That's right. Now, Detroit, like we said, is not feeling the best. Couldn't make it, but he did slide me some tidbits. Number one, as we bring us back to more of a dynasty conversation, Jahmyr Gibbs led all NFL players with 6 missed tackles on runs in week 1. So that's an impressive debut. He outran his own feet. Never seen that before. I've never seen somebody go faster than their feet and fell. That was an easy 6 points. Easy 6 points. So I'm excited to see what the Lions continue to do. It felt like both teams needed more weapons. I thought Laporta looked good for a rookie tight end. St. Brown seems to be a big weapon, and I think we're going to see less and less of Montgomery as the season goes on. He just looks like he's prodding. I mean, he scored a touchdown.
Maybe. I can also see them just being very stubborn and keeping like a pitch count out there for some stupid reason with Gibbs and making that because they paid David Montgomery. It's not like he came there.
They
for
did
cheap.
pay him.
He got a decent contract, so who knows? Maybe I think it's ridiculous to be conservative with the running backs, especially how they play 5 years and then they're about done. But I wouldn't be surprised if Montgomery keeps getting the ball.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the other rookie running back game. My Atlanta Falcons, for the first time, start 1-0 for the first time since 2017. And I know a lot of people are giving Arthur Smith down the river about this. Look, he obviously does not care about your fantasy team. He just cares about the win. And I know it's frustrating from a Drake. Drake London's a mega power. He obviously had one target that he dropped, so goose egg on the week. Kyle Pitts is frustrating, but when they're up, they're just not going to throw it. It's not going to happen. Like they're just not going to let Ritter throw the ball at all because he doesn't need to. Every rush is a 4-yard fall ahead slam, if not more. Now I will say this. I get the frustration, but it's working. I mean, the run game is dominant. The defense looked much better. It was Bryce Young. It was a rookie starting quarterback, so we have to take that with a grain of salt. My only question is, I don't know why he drafted London and Pitts if this was the plan. I guess they stretched the field some, and there will be a game where it might be this upcoming week against the Packers where Ritter is going to have to throw. I mean, he had 18 tosses, 15 completions. 8 of the 15 were behind the line of scrimmage. At one point, he was 4 of 4 with 1 touchdown and 0 yards. An absolutely phenomenal stat. He does lead the NFL in completion percentage at 83%. So what's up? But Bijan looked great. Another Detroit tidbit he had for me. Bijan tied for the NFL lead with 4 missed tackles on receptions in week 1. So, I mean, that cutback TD looked incredible. Yeah. I think we do have just the Atlanta Hawkeyes. I think this is the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL. It's just going to be ugly. It's going to be ground and pound, and that's what we're going to see.
I got a question. So, do the Falcons stick with Ritter all year, based on the playmakers of Drake London, Cal Pitts? How big is his How much can he screw up before they're like, all right, let's go with Taylor Heineke?
That's the
Because
thing.
I,
Okay.
I watched the game with you. He didn't do a damn thing. Like
Right.
I mean, nobody watched that game and like, oh yeah, Desmond Ritter, he's our guy.
No.
No one said that.
No. But it's the same. Like he didn't do anything, but at the same time, he didn't do anything. Like he didn't cost. He has not. Knock on wood. He has no. In 5 starts, he has no interceptions, no fumbles. Mariota's big problem was he would just fumble or throw a terrible ball, and
Yeah.
put us like. Uh, I don't, like it's gonna be so boring. It's gonna be unless they're forced to throw, and like I said, a team will come around and have to do that. But as a Falcons fan who went through the Matty Ice time when it was just in the Shanahan and Matt Ryan connection, where it was just aired out, but the defense was terrible and lead was safe. It's a little bit of we got what we asked for type thing because now we're completely different team identity. Like we are the Iowa Hawkeyes. Like it's just going to be ground and pound and hopefully the defense continues to get better because they look sharp. Jesse Bates 2 picks looked phenomenal. But we'll see a much more appropriate test this week with the Packers because I think those are 2 teams that are more on the same footing. The Panthers are obviously they were very banged up and still getting their footing with Bryce Young. So, but it's nice to have expectations and just adequately meet them. Don't far exceed them. Don't come in below. Just nice little ho hum football contest. That's what I watched. All right. Now, next up, I want to hit on this game. It was a kind of an ugly game for the most part, but the Ravens and Texans, the big problem here, I think it's, what do you think? J.K. Dobbins goes out with an Achilles, the first of 2 huge Achilles tears on the week. I think it's over.
He's done. Yeah. For Hurricane Wampus Cats, I'm pretty sure they traded away their life a couple years ago for.
I have it right here. They
J.K.
traded away
Dobbins.
in 2022. They this is going to be ironic because he traded back and actually got this player, but he gave up more capital. He trades away what would be pick 8 in 2022, which was Kenneth Walker, which ironically, like I said, is a Wampus Cat now, but he gave up pretty tall in a trade to get Kenneth Walker. Yes, to the Zen Masters. And then he traded away the pick that would become Jordan Addison in this last draft. So you're looking at J.K. Dobbins for Walker and Addison on just value for value. But I think he is, I hate to bring this player up, daggone it. I think he is in the Trey Lance realm now of untradeable and undroppable. You just kind of stick with him right now. You could drop him.
I don't know that he plays again.
I don't know
what
that he does
his
either.
Last injury? What was his last major injury?
I think it was ACL.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's ACL. If we're wrong, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure it's ACL. But my thing is, like, would you give up a third for J.K. Dobbins? Okay, and here's my other thing. The Wampus Cats would not. Here's my other thing. The Wampus Cats wouldn't take a third for J.K. Dobbins. I don't think. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like untradeable and he's undroppable. So you're kind of just like I'm sitting here holding the third string QB for the Cowboys in the same realm right now.
I don't know that he's undroppable at this point. We have so many IR spots. It's according to how many IR spots you have like in other league. If you don't have IR spots and it's a smaller dynasty league, I don't believe that he's undroppable. Because I mean, what has he ever done? Like he's been so much
some flashes, and he had flashes in this game. He looked great in this game before it happened.
But I'll say somebody that does look good on the Ravens, and I was high on him all off season. I didn't get him. Zay Flowers. He looked great. I think he's going to be Lamar's #1 guy. I thought it was great for the Lumberjacks, Wake Forest Lumberjacks. So, I mean, they beat you this week. Zay Flowers was one of the main guys that did that.
They almost beat me.
Oh, almost, my bad.
Took their best punch. We'll see. Again, stat correction alert.
But Lamar, it was against the Texans again. Week 1, sloppy, terrible. The Ravens they play somebody good this week.
Bengals.
I had it. The Bengals. Yeah, I think the Bengals bounce back with their awful performance too. Bengals come back. I think Lamar comes back, has a solid performance next week. They played the Texans. They did what they needed to do because the Texans the Texans don't look like they'll be good at all. I was very down on Stroud in the offseason.
You gotta give this man more than one start. I don't know what to think about.
I
I don't know
know,
what to
but
think about
the
Stroud.
preseason he looked awful. I mean, maybe he does turn it around, but I'm not sure what players, what fantasy players for the Texans I would feel comfortable starting every single week. Damian Pierce, I think he ended up with like 6 points.
Hey, there's
I
one.
don't think it was much this week.
There's the mega power.
Who?
Nico Collins.
Oh, okay. What did he end up with?
He had, I believe it was 12. I don't know what it is in this league because for some reason, God only knows, have multiple exposure to Nico Collins. So hold on, let me make sure I get the right score in this one. It was 14 points. That's startable. They're going to be in a lot of bad game scripts.
Would you be starting him in week 2?
I'm not going to start. Okay, this is actually a good point because this is a real life situation I have. You can't start Drake London right now, I don't think. Especially he's going to get Jair Alexander next week. You got to let this play out more because he'll have Jair Alexander on him, and he locked up DJ Moore, and I don't trust Drake London here. If Judy is hurt with his hamstring, if he's not coming back, I think Nico's going to go in that spot because it's the Colts. They're not some terrifying thing.
Yeah.
And he seemed to find that connection. Now, I'd be with you on CJ Stroud completely, except for the fact that it's stupid Merrill Hodge clip of him on Dan Patrick when he back in draft season before the draft. And I trust Merrill Hodge. We've tried to hire him in Melbourne for a mega power consultant so many times now. He doesn't answer the DMs.
You should get a cameo. Pay for his cameo.
Just give me 3 minutes. Just tell me what you think, Merrill. Just tell me what you think, Merrill. Please.
I'll give you $200 for these 3 minutes.
He loved CJ Stroud. And I know we didn't see it, but that's my only thing holding on hope for CJ Stroud right now is that one man's opinion.
There are, yeah. I think we were looking at some of his old clips, and he was spot on with.
The Baker and Clowney, or not Baker. I'm sorry, the Manziel and Clowney clip is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Now you did
Nico
reference
Nico Collins, 6 catches, 80 yards, 11 targets. So, I mean,
it's a pure volume play.
11 targets, yeah, it is. And if he gets a touchdown, that's a huge week.
Yeah,
it's 20 points if he gets a touchdown.
We're just garbage men here in Melbourne. We're just trying to find the good scripts. Real quick, Burrow looked awful in the rain in Cleveland. T. Higgins, a goose egg. He had 8 targets. They weren't real targets. I think only 2 of them were catchable. And T. Higgins guaranteed almost not going to be there next year. They've already come out and said he's not in the future plans. Yeah, so it's contract year. So
he's on pace for 0 catches and 0 yards.
Yes.
So.
He will get paid by somewhere. He's definitely going to get paid. We'll break it down when we break down the games. But the Renegades wide receiver situation is a wild story so far, just one weekend, and we'll break it. We'll break that down. I don't really have much else. I mean, Watson looked okay. Yeah. He looked better. I mean, 20 points.
I was just chalking this up as that's good.
20 points was his floor in Houston. Now we need to continually keep hitting that.
But also, I want to talk. So the 20 points is great for that game. I want to chalk it up as Burrow had very little preseason training with the injury. He hasn't practiced really. I don't know how much he's been practicing in the past week or two, but I know he was out. They were expecting him to be out for a while, and the weather was bad. So I can't count that game as anything for how the Bengals will be this year. And the Browns, who knows? The Bengals look so bad, but the Browns do have Schwartz now, right? So
yes,
as their defense. Has he been coaching recently? Has he been out of the league? I feel like I don't remember
where he was. I know we had to stop in the Eagles. Let me see. I know we had to stop in the Eagles. He's been everywhere. I feel like I got him right here. Let's see here. Dude, he was since in the last 2 seasons, he's been a senior defensive assistant for the Titans. This guy just took a gap year. He just took a couple years off.
He did.
And now he's back as a D coordinator. Yeah, it doesn't look good because he gets fired as a D coordinator for the Eagles, and then they go to the Super Bowl. So, So, okay, now not much else on that game. Now let's go to the Jaguars and Colts, because this was one of the. It was certainly an entertaining game. And by the way, let me just say for the listeners, obviously diehard Falcons fan. I love the Jags. It's like my team without no stress. I can tell you right now that my co-host here is fully on the Jags train because this man was living and dying with every snap, cussing this team up and down when they made mistakes, cheering like crazy when they did good things. I mean, this was a wild thing to see. I think the Raiders fandom is definitely on the back burner. I can vouch.
Oh, yeah.
The whole Smith clan. This was the Jaguars team, and I'll say one thing, Calvin Ridley looked legitimate.
Calvin Ridley looked great. He looked absolutely awesome. He might be, I mean, I'm very biased, but he really could be the best receiver in the league, or one of the top 4. He looked phenomenal. Christian Kirk just died apparently. But now
Christian Kirk is the God man out right now. We thought it'd be Zay Jones. We were wrong.
Zay Jones, Zay MF and Jones for the people that I actually yesterday there was the Jaguars season ticket holder meet and greet, and I got to meet number 1 overall pick Trayvon Walker yesterday. And while I was in line, it was a big line too. So people that are saying the Jags fans are not, the Jags fans don't have fans. Some listeners on this podcast, they are completely wrong. The line was huge, and for the first time, I saw one other guy wearing a Zay Jones jersey. So I am not the only one that has the Jacksonville Jaguars Zay
one
Jones
of 2,
jersey.
yes.
But back to this game, Zay Jones had a great catch. That catch was great.
He seems like he's going to be their possession receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he had some games last year. At the beginning of the year, he was awful last year, and then he just turned it up and went crazy. But overall, I thought the Jags played really sloppy. But again, every team week 1 did. Your guy Tank Bigsby does the dumbest thing in the world. His fault. That's probably the most cussing. You almost lost because DeForest Buckner. I almost lost.
Yeah.
That was what got me really. That was the most angry I was, because I mean
that was not fair.
Should have been in control. It wasn't. It seemed like the refs didn't even know what was going on in that play, but it happened. So. But the Jags seemed like they were handling them pretty well, and then that happened. I think it tied the game, or the Colts took the lead. It was around there, but then after that, the Jags came back and they won pretty easily.
It felt like they finally took control towards the end. I mean, it is week 1 rust. I almost feel like you can make the argument that Tank gave himself up. Like he's just standing there holding the ball.
I know it was so dumb, and that was nobody. So everyone was dead there except for a couple of defensive players.
Yeah, credit to them for even thinking to do that. I would have never thought to do that.
It was a fumble too, but
that's one of those things that used to gripe about was when they just let the play go. I feel like, and just because we'll review it anyway. Well, you've now you've shifted the burden of proof.
Yeah,
so.
I will say Anthony Richardson. He does look like he will be a fantasy god with the way he's playing. If he does, he looked like he might almost got hurt at the very end of that game.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know how many wins that will produce.
Right.
But as far as fantasy purposes, he is the offense currently. If I don't know, Jonathan Taylor comes back, but it is ran by Anthony Richardson. We
thought
the one and only guy.
We thought Pittman would be dead. Not so far. He hit Pittman a lot, and Pittman did a lot with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Vikings and Bucks. This was the surprise game. This was the killer of the stealing money parlay. Vikings 3 turnovers. It felt like every time Red Zone kicked to that game, it was the Vikings on the Bucks side of the field turning the ball over. You can't win with that many turnovers in the league. I will say the only note I have for this game is we need more Addison. Need more Jordan Addison.
Yeah,
got the long touchdown.
I said, say Bucks beating Vikings. How about did you see Baker said he read the defensive signals?
Yes,
he knew what they were doing. So
I've heard that he was communicating that to the team.
So Baker's he was the king of Cleveland 2 years ago, and then he gets injured. They do the stupid Sean Watson trade, and then last year Baker he beat the Raiders as first week against the Rams. But
oh my God, what a game!
So maybe this is a redemption year for Baker. Neither one of us want that to happen on the Bucks, but they have the playmakers. They have the playmakers to do it. They haven't really lost anyone besides Leonard Fournette. They've added some running backs. If Baker plays well, the Bucks they're not going to be terrible this year.
Well, and it's similar, obviously, astronomical differences in where they're at in their careers, but it seems pretty certain that Mike Evans will not be back next year. So this is another guy that's playing for his contract. He almost had 2 touchdowns, a huge game, would have ran up the center's record-breaking score even more. But yeah, Baker looks solid. Sean White, the Sean Tucker thing didn't happen so far. It wasn't.
He got a little playing time.
Yeah, but it was
bench.
still Rashad. But Rashad White didn't get. I mean, it was a lot of pass protection in this game. Which, I mean, the Vikings' weaknesses are their cornerbacks, so you can throw on them. Which we
Sean
might
Tucker
see
had
this Thursday.
5 carries and
Yeah,
2 catches. So
I think it was like
for an undrafted guy.
25% of snaps.
Yeah.
25% of snaps, something like that. But that's going to be one that's going to be close to follow because.
Yeah.
Now, next, let's talk about what I thought was the ugliest game of the 1 o'clocks of all the ugly. Saints and Titans, but it wasn't entertaining because it was back and forth. It was a field goal fest in the first half, but it was back and forth. I don't have much on this game. I really don't. What do you have to say on this?
So I was watching. So part of my 1 p.m. frustration was watching the Jags games and the Colts game, and on my phone I was watching the Saints game to watch my beloved Derek Carr. It was a defensive struggle, but that's what these two teams pretty much are. Yep. I think. The Saints defense, I mean, maybe Ryan Tannehill needs to retire, but the Saints defense looked great. They looked great. Carr is not going to have to do that much this year compared to years past. It is the complete opposite now. I mean, Carr, he looked great at times. That thing that's going around on Twitter now of him calling his spot, that right there shows you how much of a dumbass Josh McDaniels is, and refusing to let Carr have any control of the team, and Carr calls that spot third and something late in the fourth quarter. They could have ran the timeout, and then it just sealed the deal right there. So the coaches, Dennis Allen, as much as you love that guy, he is a fan of Carr.
Terrible.
He made Carr come there. Carr did not have the greatest game. Arden Key, the legend of
Arden Key,
he dominated for a while.
He
was killing the Saints line. The I don't number 70, whoever that is for the Saints. He looked awful, and Carr was getting killed at that time. Carr did have one bad interception too. But I mean, the question for the Titans, like I think the Saints are going to be great. I said that last week. They're going to make the NFC Championship game. We can ignore the Jets thing, talk, and all that for now. But the Saints, that defense, and if Carr just plays decent, they have a really good shot. Also, Alvin Kamara was out. Kendry Miller was out too, so they were missing some. Michael Thomas, he came back. He looked pretty good.
He had a couple of good spots.
Chris Olave, I don't look too crazy besides Tyreek Hill going off. Chris Olave was one of the top receivers of the week last week. I think he had 20 points. He didn't get a touchdown either.
Carr ended up top 5 in yards, I think, with 305.
Yeah.
So he didn't have the touchdowns with it, but the yards were there, which is what we talked about when we talked about Olave, how much he dominated air yards as a rookie. Yep. And we got a competent quarterback now that can get him the ball more consistently. So far that's played out. Now they get another ugly. I think we're gonna have another ugly game. It's Monday night, right?
Or Monday night.
Saints and Panthers.
It's Jags on Sunday. Saints Panthers on Monday night.
Yeah.
7:00.
Yeah.
First game.
Yeah. So I think
on Monday for whatever reason.
It might be another ugly game. It's Bryce Young's home debut, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk later about that.
I got you. I don't really have
last thing on that one. Ryan Tannehill. He looked awful. When does Malik Willis or Will Levis come out? How long do they?
I think
you
have to see a couple more weeks, and especially as they get completely if they get out of the running, which in the AFC South, if the Jags can, put on a hefty lead. I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to wait until they're out of the playoff picture because that could be statistically forever. But I think you do have to start seeing because you spent 2 second and a third round pick on your backup quarterbacks in the last 2 drafts. I think you do need to start seeing. And Tannehill just looks like he's hit the wall. He really does. He was a consistent, reliable fantasy starter, especially in Superflex as your quarterback too. It was fine, but it looks like he's smacked the wall now. So I don't know how much his age. I don't know how much his weapons. I don't know how much his O-line. They've lost some O-line pieces, but I don't know. We'll see. That's an interesting team that's to see what goes forward just from the QB perspective. Because aside from that, that team is boring as could be. The Titans.
Yeah.
Now we'll go to the dominant game. The Niners against the Steelers. I don't know if anybody's benefited more from the move to Brock Purdy as Brandon Ayuk. It just seems like those two have hit it off. 2 touchdowns. One was just a straight mossing. I mean, of the defender in the corner. So McCaffrey still looks incredible. He led all running backs in points this week. Would you have anything from that game that you take away from it?
Just the 49ers look incredible. So I don't know how incredible they look. This is the thing with that game. 49ers looked incredible. Steelers and Pickett looked awful. So I don't know if it's both. That's how it is. Maybe the Steelers are just Deontay Johnson's out for a while. Najee Harris had 6 carries. What the hell are we doing? 6 carries. The 49ers, I guess they probably are going to be the team to beat with those weapons on offense and defense until I don't know, somebody beats them or stuff. They just looked absolutely dominant. I do have a question about the Steelers though. Said Kenny Pickett. There's so much hype in the preseason's a freaking joke. Say the Steelers have been good. Mike Tomlin always has a good team somehow. He always has a good. Say they suck this year. Do the Steelers draft another QB in the 2024 draft next year and just go on leave Kenny Pickett? I know it's only been 1 week. But
I think it depends on how much of him looking bad is the reason why they struggle.
Man,
but it's hard to see.
He looked awful.
It's hard to see them struggling without him being the main reason why they struggle. Deontay Johnson going out is a big deal. I can't take too much because it was such a shellacking. It's like saying I can't take too much with the Giants offense because it was so bad, so quick.
Yeah.
It was like bang, bang, bang. We're down 3 scores, and now the whole game plan's out the window. I have one player that I'm really interested in watching. I wanted to pick him up for the Mega Powers, but I had too many players that were questionable but not out, so I didn't have the IR spot. Calvin Austin. I want to see what this guy does. He's going to get more run now. I know a lot of people are focused on Allen Robinson. What a name from the past now to watch. But I want to see what Austin does. And with this hopefully new focus in targets. We'll see. He's relatively unknown. He was picked up this season in the offseason by the Sinners who happen to be playing this week. So that's my main thing to watch from this game. I put so much love on Pickett. I thought for sure he's going to turn the corner. I'm hoping this is just a rough week 1, but we'll learn more as we go into next week. So that's a wait and see, and a little nervous. Do you have anything? Yeah.
Quick thing. I personally want George Pickens to start going off for the Steelers, but he did very little too, along with the rest of my team this week. So go ahead.
No, you're fine. The game with, I think, very little fantasy consequence, especially from a dynasty perspective. Commanders and Cardinals. Do you have anything on it at all?
Cardinals don't want to win this year. I mean, it seemed like that they had a chance to win. I mean, they traded away. I mean, they have no desire to win. It just seems like I thought the Commanders would do a little better than how they showed, but who knows? I basically just have it's going to be a long year for both teams.
My main worry from a Mega Powers perspective is Antonio Gibson did the one thing that he's known for doing that's kept him on this rocky roller coaster. He fumbled. So we'll see what happens with Antonio Gibson, but it was not the debut we were hoping for with that new offense with Ben-Ami. All right, let's get moving here. The 4:00 games. I know you voiced this opinion before, so we're gonna have to let you have the stage a little bit here. The Bears get dominated by the Packers. Jordan Love looks pretty decent. Aaron Jones, we talked about, he looked great. Little hamstring worries going into week 2, but as far as week 1 performance, looked great. What's your thoughts on a certain starter in Chicago?
I'm saying Justin Fields. I mean, I don't know how often a quarterback in the league. I mean, his record. I saw it earlier today. I don't know if it's updated from Sunday or not, but he went 5. He is 5 and 20 as a starter. 5 and 20. I mean, that sounds like Jamarcus Russell to me right there, as far as
Yeah.
record wise. I'm saying like these guys do not last in the league. That's what I mentioned about the trade last week between, um, we had a
Evil
trade in
Empire
the
and
league
Midnight
where it was,
Riders. Yeah.
yeah, where it was basically there was a few other pieces involved, but it's Austin Eckler for Justin Fields with some other young players that came with Austin Eckler, but I mean, Justin, like it's bold, but Justin Fields, yeah, he's awesome in fantasy with he's a running back QB basically. But again, the Bears, if the Bears are they win times this year, 5 times this year, they're not I don't see them keeping him. Why would you keep a quarterback that just continues to lose and lose?
Yeah.
They brought in DJ Moore. So they traded the first pick overall for
Yeah.
DJ Moore. Uh, and they got other picks too, but I don't see it lasting. Like, who cares if a quarterback rushes for 1,000 yards if your team sucks and he can't win? It does not matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be an example of fantasy and reality really starting to seep in here because they did already pass up on the number 1 overall pick once. I don't think they'll pass that chance again as a high pick, especially in this next draft, which is so many QBs in this next draft. So they're obviously if they do not perform, they're going to be in a spot to take one of them, and it's going to be hard to pass that up. So that's something to watch for. They had all the hype going into week 1, and it just did not translate. Now DJ Moore gets locked up by Jair Alexander. We'll see if because we saw some flashes in the preseason, so we'll see if he can kind of shake that out. Your boy Roshan Johnson looked very strong though.
He did. My one and only redemption. Dalton Kincaid didn't do much, but he's a tight end.
He looked good though from where he was at. You could see how he's going to be schemed in.
He did look good, but Roshan Johnson, I know I have heard that I can't be too high on him right now because I did hear a lot of that was garbage time. He got 6 catches. He ended up with like 17.5 points, which is huge for a rookie running back. But
Yeah.
apparently his pass blocking and all that was really good too. He is a big dude. And yeah, they were saying like, yeah, he's a backup but he was a backup to one of the greatest college football running backs ever,
Yeah.
and Bijan Robinson. So
Bijan, there it is. We got it on the pod. Bijan.
Yeah. Shout out Bijan, Charleston, West Virginia.
I hope he's listening.
Yeah, I'll be sure to tell him too. But I mean, the guy has potential, and I think he can quickly become the Bears' main RB, which would be great for me. With not struggling 173-point team week 1, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, now, the Raiders look decent. They got an ugly win against Denver. I am thinking that because Jimmy G is known for just taking the easy out, like just get it out. I think Devontae Adams might be in trouble with Jacoby Myers. I think Myers might have that role in that offense.
We'll see
That's
what
my
happens.
main takeaway.
So, week 2 matchup for the Raiders and the Bills. I'm really curious to see how that plays out. But Jimmy G, he did just enough in the second half to get the victory.
That's what he does.
Raiders D did look better this year, but it's also Russell Wilson. So but both teams' offenses couldn't seem to score. It's amazing. Josh McDaniels actually it seemed like he made a few play calls where I think he may have actually been trying to win this week in the second half.
Yeah. Now the car's gone, right? He wants to win.
It's shocking that the play calling that he was making towards the end of the game. They won, so they got the victory, 1-0. Leading the AFC West, by the way, too.
Leading the only team with a win in the AFC West. Now, staying in the AFC West, we had our best game of the 4 o'clock slate, the Chargers and Dolphins. Tua looks, I mean, Tyreek joked that, no, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say joked. Tyreek, we thought it was a BS statement that Tua is the most accurate QB he's ever played with. Some of those throws are absolutely ridiculous that he is making.
I mean, yeah, Tua does look great, but again, it's one more concussion or whatever from Tua. Who knows, an injury or whatever, but he does look great. If he stays out there, I think the Dolphins the Dolphins are definitely a tough AFC team in the league to beat, with all those weapons and Tua playing great like he did. And I just absolutely love seeing Justin Herbert lose because he's already in the Hall of Fame. He's already got a statue built, that hair flowing and everything. And picture Canton right now. He retires tomorrow. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer with how incredible that guy has been throughout his career.
I've had this take for a while. I feel like we crowned Herbert so soon. Which I mean, circumstances are what they are. No one preaches more about being in the right place at the right time than I do. We have the whole Romo Hudson jokes that we make and everything like that, as far as who is where. But you are your circumstance as well. And Staley is not great at all. I mean, I think his seat's about to heat up more and more if the Chargers have another Charger year. And Tua is just in a perfect spot with McDaniel. It's like Tua's not going to respond to that tough browbeating Bill Belichick style coaching. McDaniel's joking with him and being like super supportive. And I remember the clip from last year talking about how much tape he watched on them, and he's like, "You sucked at first, and this and that," like the jokes. Tyreek looks. This is another thing I always talk about. I don't understand how Tyreek catches a football. I don't get how they get open. Like, this is one guy. Like, you just cover him. I know, but you get two people. You double them all game, and I don't understand. I never understand how dominant ones stay dominant. Well, I know he's talked about that he's not going to play. He doesn't want to play very much. I think he's like 27. I want to say
he's 29. I thought he was like. No, he's 29. I thought he was 30. He killed the Raiders with the Chiefs for years, so I knew he had to. He couldn't be that young.
Yeah, 29.
He looks great as always.
Yeah. Not much else. I mean, to take away from that game, the Chargers have a lot to figure out. Eckler might be injured, which is a problem.
I'll say the Chargers pass defense was terrible, and the Dolphins rush defense was terrible in that game. So maybe that's how each of these two teams loses. Chargers ran wild, and Dolphins, Tua had 400 yards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, QB1. Now, I don't really have the Eagles and Patriots game was kind of a weird game. I thought it seems like the Eagles are a little susceptible to being thrown on, especially up over the middle. Mac Jones, you think this is the new Mac Jones, where he can sling it? Because like we talked about in episode in our week 1 preview, we said I want to see if Mac Jones is really allowed to sling it, and he was, and he did, and it didn't look terrible.
So Eagles were killing them, and I was like, all right, 16-0. I think that's what it started out as, and the next thing you know, it was a very close game for the rest of the game. And looking back at some of those highlights, Mac Jones was throwing some good passes in the fourth quarter that got dropped. So, I mean, the Patriots did come pretty close to actually beating the Eagles. That would have been a huge victory for them. I'm glad they didn't. Screw the Patriots, as always. They're probably still cheating somehow.
That's right.
But he did look good. And the Patriots are a lot better. And the defensive rookie player of the year, he looked pretty good too.
Christian Gonzalez,
I think he had 18 fantasy points.
Yeah. Mac Jones, 35 of 54, which is insane. 316 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a stat we would have never seen last year. So, and maybe the gamblers are onto something. You ship out CeeDee Lamb, you bring in McCorkle, and everything.
I said I didn't hate that trade. So
you were the least critical of that trade. I will give props there.
It is very hard to get a decent starting QB in this league.
I've also learned you just can't criticize, and I was king of it, and I probably still will. I probably won't listen to my own advice, but it's very dumb to criticize dynasty trades a lot of the time unless it's blatant and obvious. Because not saying this one works out. It was still a crazy trade. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to come off like defending, but we've seen some crazy stuff in the years of the KDFL of us thinking someone got the better end of it, and then time plays out. Players switch teams, coaches change, situations change, and the value of the trade changes. So, we'll be interested to watch the Patriots going forward and see if this is the new Mac Jones, the gunslinger. All right, a few more games. The last game of the 4:00 slate, the Rams put on the Seahawks. That was the big stunner. of the afternoon, I think. Puka Nakua, what do you think about this? This was insane. 15 targets.
Yeah, I mean, he was on my board, and Phil got him right before me. I should have. That's probably a guy I should have gotten besides Deuce Vaughn, but whatever. Uh, he did look great, and watching some of the stuff. The only thing is Matt Stafford's. Yeah, Matt Stafford's won a Super Bowl. He's always been pretty good and stuff for game. Johnson for years. He's done Cooper Cup for the past few years. Is Puka the new Cooper Cup, Calvin Johnson? At least until Cooper comes back. Like,
well,
what does Matt Stafford do? He throws to one guy only, apparently.
Yeah, that's true.
But he looked good. He looked really good.
Well, I mean, the thing is, when Cup comes back, I mean, I know what you're saying with the focus on one target, but when Cup comes back, he's going to be in the slot. Puka was like 80% on the outside. Tutu Atwell, who is at risk when Cup comes back, at least that role. But I do agree with what you're saying, because we do see that a lot throughout Stafford's career, where it's one guy and it's over and over and over again. So we'll see. But so far, Puka, I mean, the Mega Powers barely avoided a loss because of that man. So again, stat corrections.
Most other redraft leagues and stuff, I'm pretty sure everybody was spending all of their fab on Puka.
The fab got a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, it did.
I think got a little out of hand, but I mean, Cup does still exist. But I mean, there's no guarantee that it's 4 weeks. Just because it is 4 weeks minimum doesn't mean that it's only 4 weeks. This seems like a real problem.
He might have the nicest hair in the league if you just Google Puka Nakua.
It is beautiful. It is.
It is.
It's exactly what you think a Puka Nakua's hair would look like. Just beautiful, gorgeous.
I need to find his hairstylist.
That's right.
Styling him like that.
That's right. I got a question for you now. We saw the Cowboys dominate the Giants. Look, the Giants are pretty awful. I think you just throw away the tape on this one and hope that that's not the real Giants. I have a concern though, and it is about a mega power. It is about the quarterback, Mr. Dakota Prescott. I have a problem, and my problem is his next 4 games are the Jets, the Cardinals, and New England. Or sorry, next 3 games, New England. That defense is probably going to be able to lock up all those 3. Which means Dak's not going to have to do hardly anything, which means Dak's not going to have a lot of fantasy points. So I don't know that he'll see his way in the starting lineup in Melbourne, as long as we got Anthony Richardson running around and Deshaun Watson getting back to his normal floor. So that's my main note from that game. Is this is great. The Cowboys look absolutely dominant, but this defense is so good that it might make it to where Dak doesn't have to do anything, which could affect CeeDee Lamb as well.
I mean, that's what I factor in Lamar Jackson this week. They didn't have to do much. They ran the ball, and the defense killed the Texans. But I mean, that I factor this game a lot too. Wasn't it raining?
It was
the
raining.
Rain was very bad. So again, another theme of the week: ugly matchup. Some ugly turnovers. There's blocked field goal for a touchdown.
The Giants drove on the first drive. They were driving.
Yeah, I don't think I have confidence in Daniel Jones. I'm a fan of him. He's the he reminds me of Michael Vick.
That's right. I mean, yeah.
I don't say. But yeah, I think the Giants will be good. They got playmakers. The Cowboys, everything went right for them. Cowboys will be really good too. But it's the Cowboys. Dak, I think he'll still be good, but what you're saying there, that does make sense. Although it was 33-0, I feel like, and all of the starters were still in.
Yeah,
I know Dak, and I don't understand why teams do that, because the second one of them gets injured, it's
at least they weren't
completely over.
At least they weren't on a field known for injury. And as we talk about that, let's talk about the Sunday night game. The Sunday night game, and we'll wrap up our recaps. Rodgers, everybody now. I mean, everybody's talked about to death. Horrible situation. The Achilles, and first thing I thought when he sets down voluntarily on the field, you can
Yeah,
tell I'm looking at I was like, that's it.
he
That's something
knew.
actually
Yeah.
major. Yeah, because he's like looking over at the sideline trying to get a call. Like, this didn't happen. This doesn't really happen.
Hmm.
Surely I didn't just run out on the field with a flag and the most ceremonial, most awesome intro ever just to be done 4 plays in. It really is. It is terrible. And by the way, I had an old neighbor back in West Virginia that was a Jet season ticket holder. Mark the Neighbor is what his name was in my phone. And guess what I did not do? People have to learn football etiquette. Do not text people that you don't regularly text with every day about when something crazy happens with their fantasy football team. I cannot tell you how much, or not with their football team. I cannot tell you how much my phone blew up during 28-3 with people I've never talked to on a regular basis. It's very cruel. They're the first ones that know that something's went wrong. So I left this man alone. I'm sure he's feeling awful. Nobody in the Jets organization feels great right now. But that was just my little tidbit because I remember that night and it was very painful. And I'm sure that night the Jets felt very similar. But
Yeah,
my big
those fans are so sad.
that the
So
stadium had to
sad.
feel so like empty, like feeling.
Yeah.
My big question is the weapons, man. I think this could be good for Brees Hall, maybe, unless he
I think
faces
it
a bunch of
is.
loaded boxes.
Watching the rest of that game, I think Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook go up in the rankings because they're going
Garrett
to have
Wilson
to. And Garrett Wilson's he's done for.
is
He's done for this year as far as being like a powerhouse that people were thinking that he was going to be. I just don't see it happen. Zach Wilson might be able to, do the one-off throw that gets him a touchdown, but I
his
did Brees
touchdown.
Hall.
Yeah,
I
Brees
sound like a
Hall.
genius last week. I said that Brees Hall was going to be great.
There we
He
go.
looked incredible. He looked incredible last week, though, and that's what I was saying. Like, I don't understand the hate for Brees Hall.
I'm
He
telling
really
you, I
might
told you,
be
yeah.
the RB1 for Dynasty right now. It's very close
I
with
mean,
him,
I
and
don't know. I mean,
it's very close. I mean,
I don't go that far.
is he is even a year older. Um,
I don't know.
but Brees Hall, he looked great. If he would have got that touchdown, that 83-yard run.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of he's still got to get back in game shape and
Yeah,
health because he would normally not
yeah.
get caught right
I mean,
there.
but the dude looks great, and the more he plays, I think they're going to keep doing it, and I think he'll play more with Zach Wilson. With I'm guessing they got to bring in some QB. I don't know who again, but
Garrett Wilson's touchdown catch, he played cornerback and flicked it to himself. And he's going to have to do that every week in order to have
yep,
a lot of relevance. I think he averaged 17 points a game when somebody other than Zach Wilson was the QB last year. And I think 8 to 9 points a game when Zach Wilson was the QB. Now, Zach's
Zach
had another
Wilson.
year to mature. All they really want to do is not turn the ball over. So we'll see. We'll see. He is their best option right now. He absolutely is.
Call me crazy, but I am rooting for Zach Wilson.
I think
Oh,
everybody's
12-year-old
he's
Zach
got to be the player
Wilson.
that everybody's flipped on. He's like the reverse Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
Everybody's
he
everybody's
is.
rooting for this guy now because it feels like he ate his humble pie. He got crapped on by the whole league. So
And he's 12 years old. Yeah.
The headband.
Yeah, he's the youngest dude ever, and he rocks the headband. So got to cheer for him there. Hopefully Rodgers comes out and he's his biggest cheerleader for the rest of the year.
Do you think Rodgers comes back?
I don't think so, unless
you
he
think
just wants to hang out with Nate. Oh no, I thought you were asking this year.
No, next year.
I mean, at first I thought no, but then I was listening to some people and they were like, "You got to think Aaron Rodgers is one of the most competitive human beings in the world."
You cannot have you go out on September 11th in New York.
I know. Yeah,
but nobody's talking about it. What if he just comes out and gets hurt again? Like nobody's talking. Oh, I know. Like he's old, guys.
And also, you're out for a whole year, 40 years old. Your Achilles.
My favorite thing, and this is like my favorite Smart Aleck comment. Like it's such a bad rehab. It's so. I'm like, well, he's gonna have to rehab it. Like his foot's just not gonna dangle there. Like he's gonna. I know it's a different type of rehab when you're getting ready to play again, but his foot. You gotta fix it.
There's probably some awesome villages that he can go to, do all of his experimental stuff, and just rehab like crazy and have the greatest year ever.
Where's the shaman? Where's the shaman at? We need this person.
That sounds like an incredible year to me. I mean, he's a multi-millionaire. He can pay whatever he wants and just get the greatest. He can have a Jets trainer go there with him for their next year.
Uh,
Why wouldn't you sign up for that?
yeah. All right. Anything else from your for week one? We went a little long there, but that's fine. It's
Just
week one. We have a lot to digest.
I just hope week two is more back to normal. Football teams actually playing, not a bunch of sloppiness. And because it's hard to I think it's hard to rank teams. It's hard to rank fantasy teams right now based on the performances of several teams. So hopefully it comes back to earth.
All right. Let's get into it then. KDFL week two. Detroit was able to find the strength to lift his thumbs to his phone screen and text me his picks. So as we go through each game, I will first give you what Detroit has picked. We'll start off with the 0-1 Wampus Cats taking on the 0-1 Lumberjacks. Detroit has picked the Wampus Cats to get the victory here to improve them 1-1. What do you say about this game?
Wampus Cats projected to win by 30 points. Lions and Seahawks game could be high scoring. Wampus Cats have Ken Walker, Amon Ra, and DK Metcalf. Lumberjacks actually have a couple players too, but not as key players in them. Lumberjacks, we talked about this earlier. The rookies looked great last week with Robinson, Zay Flowers, and Puka. However, the team is too young. Wampus Cats win this.
I have the Wampus Cats getting away with it again. That I'm talking about it again. The one QB is a very tough thing to pull off, but I thought they had it last week. I was dead wrong. The centers absolutely went off. Essentially the Lumberjacks are a one QB team as well, and that one QB is Sam Howell, the other one Josh Dobbs. So, and he didn't have a single solid point. He had less than 1 point. Dobbs did last week. My big note. Can Puka repeat? I just want to see it because it's another great matchup for the Rams. Oh, no, it's a terrible matchup for the Rams. The Niners. No, I have it backwards. I had the Seahawks.
Yeah.
It's a terrible matchup for the Rams. So we'll see what Puka can do now that he actually has a hard defense. But that's my main note. Can Puka repeat? I'm going Wampus Cats, though. Next up, the Gamblers at 1-0. This is our first of only two 1-0s versus 1-0s. The Gamblers travel to Elkview to take on the River Rats. Detroit, in a bold move, possibly delirious, picked the River Rats to get the W here. Matt, what do you have for us?
All right, Gamblers, shocking 1-0. Came out last week, shocked the world, beating the Evil Empire. Daniel Jones comes out strong next week against the Cardinals. Redeems himself from last week's shutout. I would say Darren Waller would benefit the River Rats with this, but he'll fake another hamstring injury and sit out for them, so that will not help him at all. Jones leads the Gamblers to 2-0 and gives the River Rats their first loss.
On my notes for this game, this kind of goes back to last year, and we talked about it earlier. I agree that the Cardinals are doing all the moves to tank, but I don't think the head coach knows that. I really do believe that this guy is off his rocker, and I do believe with him when he says, hey, I want Kyler to be our QB. He gave him the finger guns. I mean, what more could you want? I don't think that was Kyler he did the finger guns with, but whatever. The thing I'm watching in this game, last year the Cardinals were historically, you could make so much money betting on the tight end that was going against the Cardinals to exceed his player props. This is a new HC with a new defense that looked better last week than what we thought it would, given it was the Commanders. But they got Darren Waller now. Darren Waller's hurt, hamstring, miraculously shocking, I know. But in the event that he plays, I'm dying to see if this holds true still, that tight ends can dominate the Cardinals. So that's the main thing I'm watching. I do have the Gamblers, though, getting the win. That defense is I'm telling you, I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's going to keep them in all the games. That's how they come so close to their projections each week. I have the Gamblers getting the win, improving to 2-0. Not bad for a power ranked number 9 team. All right. Now, the Evil Empire up next after a shock. I can't remember the last time they were under 500. I don't know. We'll have to look that up. We'll have to get on the stats. But they're 0-1, and they're traveling to Nocatee to get some sun, to find some peace after losing the ring ceremony game last week. Detroit has the Evil Empire getting the win. Are you going to do it, Matt? Take it away. Let's see
Say
your thoughts.
the Empire are projected to win in almost every single category next week. I think I'm beating him with a couple of linebackers. The game could get a little. I will say this though: the game could get a little close if Eckler sits out for the Empires with their terrible lack of depth. Which I
There you
think I may
go.
have
There it
ranked
is.
them number 3, and I think somebody was upset about that. But lack of depth, and it's clearly showing. And the Zim Masters picked up a couple weeks ago. So if Eckler sits,
Hold on. Say who you picked
Josh
up again
Kelly
because you cut out on
plays.
my side. Who'd you pick up?
Josh Kelly.
Okay. It cut out.
Yeah, I feel like he got cut in that Austin Eckler trade. So I picked him up the next day. I only picked him up because I have Isaiah Spiller on my team too. But
That's a
Eckler
name.
sits Josh Kelly looked good.
Mm-hmm.
He had I think he had 15 carries and 90 yards or something last week. So that has to be the miracle of miracles. But I'm saying Evil Empire gets their first W of the year. Zim Masters fall to 0-2.
Eckler came out in the podcast that he does, which is still amazing, by the way. The guy that's actively in the league talks about fantasy football on podcasts. I absolutely love that. He said, Josh Kelly, you got to get him. He is the guy. So he also said that about Josh Palmer, but we'll let that go for right now. Looking at this, the only thing I'm watching, I got to see Jamar Chase bounce back. The 3-catch game. I mean, I'm sure he will. There's no legitimate long-term fear about Jamar Chase, but now I want to see it. This is a Ravens matchup that you would think would be better because Denzel Ward is a tough draw as far as cornerbacks you go up against. So I have the Evil Empire getting the win, going to 1-1, but I want to see what Jamar Chase does because it's right now as injured as we joke about, but as injured as the Evil Empire is, they're going to need Jamar Chase to do Jamar Chase things right now. All right. Next, we have the 0-1 Kings traveling to Dogtown to take on the 1-0 Dobermans. Detroit went with the Dobermans. Take it away, Matt.
Very close matchup projections. However, this comes down to QB matchups. Burrow looked awful against the Browns defense. For the Kings, is Pickett going to do any better this week? Brock Purdy goes against the division rival Rams. I feel like that's going to be a little closer than what people were thinking. Rams killed the Seahawks last week, so people were kind of throwing the Rams out this year. But I think it's going to be a little closer than what people were thinking. And the Rams, if anybody's going to study Brock Purdy, I think it'll be the Rams. Meanwhile, Josh Allen comes back to life, puts up a monster performance against the Las Vegas Raiders, along with Joe Burrow having a big game against the Ravens. Dobermans win.
Okay. The main thing I have that I'm looking for in this game, we talked about on the breakdown. Philly can be exposed to the passing game, especially deep over the middle, and I think that could be Jordan Addison. So I need to see what the Vikings game plan for him. I think we're gonna have to bring him along faster than what the coaching staff was thinking in Minnesota. So I'm watching that, but I do have the Dobermans moving on to 2-0, and the Kings in their playoff push campaign getting off to a little bit of a rough start, starting out 0-2. Now, next we have the Sinners at 1-0, fresh off a franchise-setting record in points, coming down to Melbourne to take on the 1-0 Mega Powers. Detroit went with the Sinners. Take it away, Matt.
I got to go back and look and see how the Sinners scored that many points last week. I'm looking at their team and
defensive 72 points, or 63 points between Bobby Wagner and TJ Watt.
Okay, that was it. That was okay. Yeah, that was a deciding factor in another game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a close projection. I mean, Sinners are projected to win by 17 or so. Anthony Richardson, I think he has a big game against the Texans. And I don't love the Sinners scored 300 points, and I'm sorry, but I don't love the team. I don't love the look of it. Really is going to go off against the Chiefs.
Oh God.
I'm pulling the upset right here. I cannot have all of us go pick the same team. Let's go Melbourne Mega Powers. Get that W.
Did you think we were in danger of us picking the Sinners?
Well,
no, sir.
as a smart man, went against my team, unlike you and Detroit
I mean,
or
I like
you
this
and
matchup.
yeah,
Look, look here. The
whatever.
one thing I'm watching right here is Aaron Jones and that hamstring because he was all smiling and getting it worked on, but he didn't practice today. So we'll see if he even suits up to play Atlanta this week. And I don't know how clear this is going to be, but everybody's going to be on the centers. I'm going to see if this will be clear to the camera right here. This is all time right here. Focus in. Focus in.
No,
Say all
back
the
it up a little.
centers.
There you go. That's good.
This is the
Yeah.
Mega Powers 8-3 all time versus this centers team. Some people beat people. Shanahan beats the crap out of McVay every time they play. I think he's like almost 8-3 against McVay since they've been playing. So some people just had people's numbers. I can't explain it. I love the fact that he's coming off a franchise record-setting score. It's time to come back down to earth, and Melbourne will be right here waiting on you. Give me the Mega Powers. Now, time to go to our game of the week. These were ranked 2 and 3 in the power rankings. Their division foes. It's the Midnight Riders traveling to Roxalana to take on the Renegades at 1-0. Detroit went with the Renegades. What say you, Matt Smith, on our game of the week?
So I picked the Marmette Midnight Riders as the #1 team of the year after their trades that they made. So far, those trades have not panned out too well. But it's only 1 week though. Justin Fields and Ozzie Harris contributed very little. Week 1. And the Renegades, I mean, they got Tua going against the Patriots, and Garrett Wilson's he's a mess. T. Higgins is definitely coming back. Jalen Waddle, I think he'll be all right. I think I got to do it too. And the #1 team in the league this year, the Marmette Midnight Riders, start 0-2, and the Roxalana Renegades win this game.
All right, I have a fun fact for you, real quick. I meant to mention earlier. Do you know what? Tua's first name is short for a huge long. I'm going to try to say it. His actual first name, right? Yeah. Do you know what his middle name is? So it's Tua, long name, and
Edward.
then Tagovailoa. His middle name is Donnie. Just Donnie.
That's nice. I got a quick question for you. Do you know? Hold on, let me get it right. Do you know the quarterback, future #1 quarterback in the league, beloved Jacksonville Jaguars? What is his name?
The what?
The #1 QB in the league, soon to be #1 QB in the league for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What is
Trevor
his
Lawrence?
full name? Yes, what is his name?
I have no idea what is this. I love these.
His name is William Trevor Lawrence.
It's very Anglo-Saxon.
His name is William.
I would go with Trevor as well.
A month ago. William Lawrence.
I would go with.
I feel like nobody talks about that.
That's got Michael Higginbotham, Shawn Michaels vibes to me. That's like for some reason the first thing I thought of.
William Lawrence, what a legend!
I can't even try to say to his real first name, his whole thing, but the middle name is Donnie, and it's beautiful. Now, look at this game of the week. So the main thing I'm looking forward to in this game, we just saw Tyreek Hill go absolutely off. So, but he draws Bill Belichick and the Patriots this upcoming week. I already said I don't understand how Hill just gets to go off and nobody just doesn't sell out to stop him and make others beat him. We'll see the game plan for Bill. But I am sticking with, we know how big of a fan I am of this team. Amazingly that we have a consensus on this game, which should be a huge contest. But I'm going with the Renegades to get the win. And that's it for the week 2 predictions. Now, real quick, Detroit also sent in his lock of the week and his upset. He has a lock of the week as the Eagles on Thursday night, giving 6.5 to the Vikings. And his upset is Baltimore over Cincinnati. And Brett, you suck, I'm supposed to say, I believe. Shout out Detroit. Matt, what do you got for your lock and your upset?
Lock of the week. Very disrespectful lock of the week. Saints -3 against the Panthers. Saints are easily going to win this matchup on Monday night with that lockdown defense. Bryce Young is going to he might retire after this game actually because Carr is going to come back. Carr is going to come back.
Oh, that's the Lance.
He's going to get the shakiness off of him. He's going to look great. He's going to show Desmond Ridder how you really cut up the Panthers defense, and just it -3, so disrespectful. The Saints will get love eventually. They're just not getting the love right now. They should.
All right.
Oh, and the upset of the week. It's kind of tough ones, but I thought the Broncos
wasn't-
were trash last week. I think the Commanders are going to pull the upset. They're going to beat the Broncos. Broncos didn't look good against the Raiders. Raiders are going to get killed by the Bills this week. So, Commanders, give me the upset.
All right. Man's playing with fire going division road game, but it is his Saints. So what can you say? All
My
right.
Saints.
I'm terrible at locks, as we've said. I'm going to be at the game, and I want the points. So give me the Jags and the Chiefs over 51.5. I think they scored 47 in the playoffs. I could easily see that going over in Jacksonville. And I just talked about it. I think this head coach I think he's an absolute nut job. I think he might be a bad head coach, but he can seemingly play in the defense. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals to get the outright victory over the Giants. And this week, the Stealing Money Parlay. It's redemption for the Bills money line over the Raiders, San Francisco money line over the Rams, and Dallas money line over the Jets. You combine those three, -109. It's not always going to be straight money lines. I don't like doing that. I like doing teasers, but when the first couple weeks while we're filling out the league and everything, week 2 is going to be a straight money line to get us in the win column. Matt, anything else for the people before we sign off?
Go Jags.
Go Jags. We will be in attendance
after
yes
taking the Chiefs' ass week 2 in our till.
We will be tilling out in Jacksonville. So for Jonathan Detroit
I got to
Haynes.
sign off. Actually, I got to sign off.
Oh,
I didn't.
Hold on. Okay,
I didn't have a
Detroit
sign
Haynes
off last week.
All right, kick it to Matt Smith for the goodbye.
So, Nagatee's in Master Zone. After week 1, some fantasy owners may be super down on their decisions and their team. However, do not dwell on the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. It is not too late to build a powerhouse team. Goodbye. Peace to all.
He gave us a Zen Master proverb. Oh, so for Jonathan Detroit Haynes, for the peaceful Matt Smith, I'm Brett Steele, and we will see you next week right here on the KDFL Dynasty Football Podcast.